Well, this sucks. You're watching Fameless, a brand new podcast for the rest of us, where we examine the curious human desire for fame. We'll talk with fameless people about what fuels their desire for fame and the challenges they faced in pursuit of it. For the only people who know more about what it takes to make it in this world than those who made it are those who didn't. So come along with us on our journey down the bumpy road to fame, where we'll discover the only real difference between the famous and the fameless is one right turn. Hello, I'm Guy Holling, and welcome to Fameless, a podcast for the rest of us. My guest today is Guy DiBenedetto, a longtime friend and Chicago actor. I'll talk with Guy about his experiences as an actor on that bumpy road to fame and the challenges he's faced in pursuit of it, which for anyone who has been through it for 30 years knows is an endless treasure trove of comedy.
The guy before you is the worst singer I've ever heard.
And tragedy.
I did not get another audition from that place for 6 months.
Mostly tragedy. So please put your hands together and give a warm welcome for Guy DiBenedetto.
So usually I would watch Mel Gibson rehearse a scene and then I would reenact it for the technical crew. But today was different. The director would be using me to set up the scene. I laid across the hood of the car and held onto the windshield wipers. The car slowly made its way down the street and came to a halt. I rolled off the hood onto the pavement. I pick myself up and I stagger over to the curb and collapse in front of the fire hydrant. I then pick up my gun. The director yells, "Cut, we're ready for Mel." Gibson came running onto the set. "My interview ran long. Can you tell me where we're at in the scene?" I said, "You were just hit by a car. You're right down the street. It stops. You roll off onto the pavement. You pick yourself up. You stumble to the curb and collapse and pick up your gun." He said, "Thanks, Guy. I know where we're at now." And he patted me on the back. He was in character within seconds. The scene went perfect. One take. I suddenly looked up and saw hundreds of fans behind the police barricades. I was concentrating so hard, I didn't even know they were there. I thought, am I really standing here dressed like Mel Gibson and wearing blue contacts? Did he really just ask me what to do in a scene? And he thanked me by name and patted me on the back? Are there really hundreds of fans standing there watching me? Fans I was totally unaware of. It all became very surreal to me. There are certain moments you remember all your life. This was one of those moments. It brought me back to the time when I was 6 years old. My mother was taking me to my first movie. Not only that, we were taking the train to downtown Chicago to meet my aunt and cousins, to the historic Chicago Theater. I'll never forget entering that lobby. The ceiling must have been 10 stories high, made entirely of glass. Plush red carpeting, ushers in tuxedos, the smell of fresh popcorn in the air. I remember entering the theater and looking up to the gold ornate ceiling with beautiful murals painted on them. Crystal chandeliers hung, and I'll never forget seeing that red curtain rise for my very first time. The music swelled to the sound of music. Although I was 6, I didn't really know much. But what I did know, I wanted to be up there. What I didn't know, it would be a feeling that would stay with me for the rest of my life.
You're watching Fameless, a podcast for the rest of us. After the break, we'll catch up with Guy a bit and discuss our inalienable rights to life, acting, and the pursuit of fame. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Fameless, a podcast for the rest of us. Oh my goodness, Guy, how have you been?
Hey guys,
It's so good to see you. It's been a long time.
It's been too long.
Glad you could stop by.
Yeah,
Welcome to Fameless.
Yeah, it's exciting, right?
It's a podcast for the rest of us. It is exciting.
Your own podcast.
That's a lot. It's just us hanging out and talking. I don't want to know that I'm responsible for something.
Oh, don't worry.
So we'll just wing it.
Guy, don't worry.
That's a lot. So maybe don't say that.
Don't say what?
Don't bring attention to me. I can't stand it. Like, seriously.
Really?
It's bad.
Okay.
You know what? It's like this. Ooh, I want to be an actor, but don't look at me. What is that?
We'll make it all about me then.
We'll make it all about you. So camera's all on Guy, right? So how have you been? What's all been going on?
Do you remember the last time I saw you?
I do. We were.
Can we tell them?
You can tell it. Again, scandalous.
So Guy tells me we have to go see his friend that she's performing in a show. And it turns out to be, what is it? Like
burlesque.
An underground bar.
Underground burlesque.
And she's in a bikini doing somersaults with a chainsaw and an electric sander. Do you remember?
I do.
And sparks were coming at us. And
it was pretty fantastic. That was a club in Chicago. Yeah, it was shortly after I shot a billboard for Ozinga.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was like the stylist on the set. And she's like, I'm doing this show. Come and see it. And I'm like, Guy, you're on. Come on, we'll go and watch. And we walked in and literally the girl was in some scantily clad outfit with a grinder and a metal plate on her belt and doing this like, to like house music, and sparks are flying. And I'm like, maybe this
is close to a freak show, I think.
Yeah, Guy didn't.
But it was fun.
Guy didn't stick around long. He's like, I think I have somewhere to be. He was out. But that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the last time we saw each other. I do remember one of the times prior to that, the little acting class.
Right.
This is a fun story because I don't know if anybody's noticing, but as I sit here, I kind of wipe my hand because we just shook. And this is nothing to do about Guy. It's just me. I'm just a complete germaphobe. And so Guy and I were in acting class, and if I remember right, I borrowed his coat for a character.
He borrowed my coat for a monologue. And I borrowed his pen. And I was thinking of what to write, and I had the cap in my, the pen in my mouth. And then I went to give him back the pen, and he said, you could keep it because I saw you put it in your mouth.
I said that to you.
And then I got my coat back, and you had Kleenex in the pocket.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do remember that. So about a month later, a pen showed up in a hermetically sealed bag.
We had a sealer at work, and I took like 4 baggies and put it in and kept sealing them.
Yeah.
And I bought you a new pen.
Oh, I still didn't.
How are you doing with the germs now? Are you better now?
No, it's still really bad. Oh. As anyone around here can attest, it's still really bad. But I think I can maintain some semblance of rationality through it. Although you got something in your mug, which we did not put in there because we were in...
I was going to say, I'm impressed with these.
I know.
My name is right. Oh, is that taped on there?
It is. It is taped on there. And Xerox. And what do you think? This is some high-budget production? Come on, I'm going to tear your name off of there and put the next guest's name on there as soon as you...
spared. Thank you.
Oh, see, I don't even know how you do that. I didn't wash these. We were rushing the production today. And I'm like, forget it. We just won't put anything in there. I looked and I'm like, Guy, you have something in there?
It's fine, Guy.
So you'll be okay.
I'm fine.
I would never be able to do it. I can't even pretend to put that to my mouth. Oh, it's too close. Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, what's been going on?
A lot. Yeah. A lot of craziness, a lot of just squirrels and shiny stuff, and just trying to maintain some sort of sanity. And when you get ideas like this and you don't act upon them, you end up cutting an ear off and dying a horrible death. So, you just got to roll.
I think this is a great idea because we both probably know so many people with so many funny stories and things that have happened along the way.
Yeah. So when Guy and I first met, you want to tell this because you tell it in a good way, right? We meet each other on location for National Restaurant Association at the United Center. So we were 4 young punks trying to smuggle booze into the stadium, right? Mm-hmm. And 2
of us were named Guy.
Yeah, we show up, and out of 4 dudes, I never
meet anybody with my same name.
Out of 4 dudes, 2 of us are Guy. It was pretty great. So we stayed in touch over the years, and that was probably 25 years ago.
At least, yeah.
And we stayed in touch, and every once in a while, I'll just give him a call, and we'll tell just crazy stories, like whatever our audition failures have been, or whatever our jobs have been, and somehow Guy just wins in the way he tells his stories. They're so incredibly funny, which you talked about a friend of yours who loves to laugh at your tragedy. Yeah. Now, this isn't, I just want to be like super clear. This is not a show about failure because we're in it. We're doing it. And I don't think that it's about our failure, which is why we haven't become famous. It's just not a lot of people know us. What are you going to do about it?
You're always good for my self-esteem,
Oh, yeah, right. So anyway, I just recall one of my all-time favorite stories, one of your auditions, when you had to audition as an opera singer. Oh. Not a trained classical opera singer by any means. So when you get a call and he tells you this story, you can't help but just go for it. Just tell it.
Well, this is a quick one. It was for a restaurant, I believe, and it was a singing waiter. And they called me and I said, I sing terrible. I have to tell you one other quick story. I took singing lessons once and I was so self-conscious I would not sing for the first 3 months. I just did scales on the piano with the teacher. And I left when I finally sing my first song. And he's like, well, it's not horrible, but we have some work to do. So I get to my car and I forgot my sheet music. I go back in the room and the janitor is in there mopping. Did I tell you this one? The janitor is in there mopping. He thinks I'm the next student coming in. Yeah. And he said, how are the lessons going? And I said, terrible. I'm the worst singer here. And he goes, no, I've been here 30 years. The guy before you is the worst singer I've ever heard.
And that was you.
That was me. So anyway, traumatized.
Hence Fameless.
Yeah, traumatized ever since then, never sang again. And so now they want me to sing opera. Yeah. And I said, no, I'm a horrible singer. And they're like, well, they don't really know what they want, so it could be funny, just go anyway. So I'm in the lobby, and there's 3 guys before me, and I'm talking to them, all from the Lyric Opera House, like Luciano Pavarotti. Yeah. And I can hear them in their
So your self-esteem is really...
Oh, I can't even... So I got in there, and everybody kind of froze, and their eyes got big. And I'm like, would you like to see it any other way? And they're like, no, that was good. And I left, and I did not get another audition from that place for 6 months.
Just because of that, yeah. I mean, that's
I don't know. You know how we make it up in our head, because of that. But yeah, it was just horrible. And,
oh my God, that's so funny. They tell you don't compare yourself to people in the room. Like you go into these auditions and you look around, oh, that guy is so much cooler. Oh, he's got such cool hair, and oh, his wardrobe is cool. And you start comparing yourself to these people, and before you know it, your esteem just is like pounded into the ground. And then they open the door and they're like, okay, Guy, you're next. And you just want to cry.
Freeze up.
One of the coolest things that I ever heard is Jeff Bridges, when he was new, just had a ton of anxiety and stress over a scene. And the director came up to him and said, you know what, just think of it as a game of tag. And he's like, you're it. Jeff Bridges is like, whoa, yeah, I guess I am. So when I auditioned for Chicago PD and my son came with me as my support, I'm like sitting there in the hot seat, right? I'm next. Chicago PD, I'm up for playing a bad guy. I'm like, oh my God, I'm with Claire Simons, and the door opens up. And I looked and she's like, Guy, we're ready for you. And I looked at my son and I said, tag, I'm it. And I went in. And everything just chilled. It was just it was an amazing, weird bit of advice, but I loved it.
And you got that one.
I did get that one.
There you go. You got me? I got you.
I think this might be a good point to bring up. We were talking earlier about how our careers come full circle and the things that we've done versus where we are now.
Right.
We can't really foresee where we will be, but we know where that is, right? We know we want something. And again, this isn't about fame either. It's not a show about failure. It's not a show about fame, because I don't think any of us like actually want to be famous. I don't think it's, ooh, yeah, I want to be famous. I think it's more that we want to be part of that thing through which fame comes, right? As an actor or a musician or a dancer or any other thing, that fame tends to be a byproduct
I think, too,
of.
doing what you love and making a career of it, because it's not easy, whether it's music or art,
Right? It's definitely the process. And I think if fame came, I don't know if it changes. It does. It changes everything. Anyway, so yeah, when your career comes full circle and you find yourself where you think the next logical step is big, that which fame may come from, but instead you find yourself right back at like the starting point. Yeah. You can't help but be like, what in the world? So for example, we've had this conversation too, right? There I am shooting Chicago PD, nationally syndicated, dramatic, amazing, popular television series. And within a month, I'm on this very stage doing a high school production of The Fantastics. That was my full circle. Yeah. Why? Why was that what was next for me? Because the lead in the school where I teach contracts mono, and the theater director says, oh my God, could you please bail us out? Could you please fill in? Could you please play? Could you please play? Not some dude that would have been amazing, but instead, I get asked to play Henry, who is the old, washed-up actor in The Fantastics. Oh. If that wasn't like...
You think it was a message?
Really? Would you look at that and go, damn, what's next for me? Or would you be like, I quit? Because I can't.
I think we look differently, because I heard an actor say, I think whatever is meant to be yours will come to you. And even if no fame ever came, just the fun, the meeting other people, the friends I made and have kept, it's just been, to me, a lot of fun, So I think it's a glass half full.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been like that a lot with me. You're like, God, you need to make a pros and cons list and just like get all those cons to move over to the pros. And I'm like, guy, but it's so heavy. I don't know. I do.
No, that was so simple. I didn't think we'd get into psychology, but it's so simple. It says on one paper, put all the positive things in your life that we forget about. And on the other side, 2 or 3 things that aren't working. And the goal is to get one of the things that we're not happy with over to the good side,
Yeah.
So, and it really, it's so simple, and it really has helped people that I talk to, Yeah.
Do you notice how that just completely killed the room? The mood. But what? Yeah, does that make me have to look at things that I don't like and admit them to myself? Right? Or I don't know. Anyway.
But I think you have to look at it like you have this family and this great job as a teacher, and some people just have had that. Not just that, but you've also done that, and then all this acting and all this. So it's like extra, I think it's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to be like sour grapes and have this bad attitude or anything else, which I don't have. It's like I say to anybody. It's like, as long as you're getting auditions, you're succeeding.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even be like considering you for anything in the first place if you weren't succeeding.
Yeah.
So you get the audition, you do your thing, you've got a bunch of creatives sitting there, and the more callbacks you have, the more suits there are in the room, and the more you're like, okay, we're going again. And you just go again with the hope that maybe one of those people is going to be like, yeah, that's the guy. And I say this all the time. It's like you get into these callbacks and you get all the way to the end and it's you and another guy, and it's usually comes down to the guy with the other color hair. So I say it all the time. I'm like the guy with the other color hair, which is tough. But if you've made it that far, have you failed? Right? And then you get the job and you almost wish you didn't, because that's when you do fail.
Yeah.
Like the Dollar Shave Club ad I had. Man, I was like crashing and burning. Came out fine. It was beautiful and wonderful. But, you know, that audition was so amazing. Like I was all Clint. I get to play a cowboy. I'm like, oh man, I'm going like gruff. I'm going Clint Eastwood. And I played it that way.
Hairs don't care.
And I got the callback based on that audition. And then I showed up to the callback, and he's giving me more of those references. And I'm like, yeah, they get it. I totally like interpreted this. And I'm all Clint Eastwood. And I end up getting it. And I showed up for the fitting, and I looked at the wardrobe they had pulled for me. And I'm like, no, Clint Eastwood didn't wear any of that stuff. That's like Woody from Toy Story. And I'm like, what are they doing to me?
That.
So I got into the costume, and one of the crew comes past me as I walk down the hall in costume, and he's like, Cowboy Curtis? I'm like, what does that mean? I don't even know who Cowboy Curtis is. And then I look him up later, and I find out it was Lawrence Fishburne's first big role on Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Oh. He played Cowboy Curtis.
I love Pee-wee.
And I found this excerpt in Entertainment Weekly, and he's like, yeah, when I went out to Hollywood, all I envisioned myself was playing these amazing like cowboy characters. And then I got cast as the goofy Cowboy Curtis. And I'm like, I hear you, man. Totally.
No, it's funny. My godson is staying with me for a bit, and we watched my best friend's wedding. And I told him at the end, you were supposed to be at the wedding and dance with Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
You were right. It was between you and one other guy, and then they went with Rupert Everett. I
think
that's his name.
Yeah. I might not be here to speak with you today. I'd probably have a sign if I was that would say famous. Could you imagine ending the film with Julia Roberts meeting her at the wedding and leaving with her and riding off into the sunset with Julia Roberts? Would I have still, I still probably would have been in a high school production of The Fantastic.
I know it was funny how we didn't meet for a long time. I don't know if I ever told you, I was supposed to be the stand-in for Dermot Mulrooney.
Yeah.
I actually got picked. I did it for 2 days. And the cinematographer, we were both in the bathroom. And he said, I see you were on an Oliver Stone movie. How did that go?
That's right.
Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
And I said, we knew when the lighting was right, my hair would smoke. I was making a joke. And like an hour later, they call and say, cinematographer said, you're too dark. They can't use you anymore.
Oh, no.
And we were exact same coloring.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's why.
Yeah,
but it's funny we both were connected to that, and
yeah, that's
didn't
interesting.
work out.
But I remember you were the one who uncovered why Andy Conley, who was original character in the end of My Best Friend's Wedding, who was going to meet Julia Roberts, why Andy Conley's character just disappeared, and why the callbacks stopped coming, and why it just sort of quietly went away. And I don't let go easy. Like, I'm still waiting for him to call me back for that. I really am. And I thought maybe if I pitched like my best friend's divorce, I could take that to somebody and still ride
funny
off.
That after I watched that, they had a reunion interview I watched on YouTube. And he said he was supposed to have like 10 minutes in the movie, and they kept adding. And Julia Roberts wants to do a sequel to that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Who do we know? Anybody? I know nobody. But you're the one who uncovered the truth about what happened to that character, because you read Rupert Everett's biography.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Autobiography.
Yeah.
And he talked about how he was never the leading man. He never got the girl. He never had that role, right?
Yeah.
And here this movie comes along, and they test market it to white bread middle America, and they're all like, we love him. And then they're like, okay, rewrite the ending. See ya, Andy. And here comes more of that character. And they wrote off together, and with the hope that, wow, maybe, So it was really interesting. Yeah. But yeah, those were my quiet little claims to Fameless.
Yeah.
It is, man. So how about you? I know that you've got another really good one that is your near claim to Fameless. Tell me about the adult diapers.
Oh, I thought you were going.
This is the newest Guy DiBenedetto audition story, and it's classic. All right, here we go.
And I'll give you the quick version.
No, everything.
So, for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, I took care of my mother and our neighbor and my Aunt Kay, who was 94. I called them the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
So I get home and I get a call and they're like, from the agent, Guy, did you get my message? It's, are you willing to do a Depends ad? And I'm like, oh my God, I take care of 3 seniors. I'm perfect. And they're like, well, no, like people a little
Method
bit
acting.
older are wearing them now. So you would be in the Depends.
Right.
And she said, but they're not going to show your face. And I think she said it paid like $5,000.
Yeah, you told me a pretty good amount.
Yeah, so I said,
definitely worth putting.
And she said, but they're not going to show your face. So I said, all right, I'll do it. So I go there. Oh, she goes, and by the way, there's like one small bathroom. Everyone's going to be changing. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
So now I'm in this little room with like 30 men putting on diapers. And I go to the audition and they said, all right, go back to the desk and get the generic diaper. So I'm like, I got to go into the lobby and say, and she's like, oh, that's good. They want to see you in the generic one. So I got to go back in the bathroom, come back. And then I get home and the agent calls and she said, oh, Guy, there's been a change. You're in the callbacks, but they do want to show your face. And I'm like, oh. And she's like, but they're going to pay $10,000. I'm like, what time do you want me to be there? So then I have to go back and do this again and never get the job.
Yeah.
So to go through that twice and then not get it.
Yeah, but wasn't that second pair like a piece of paper towel?
Yeah, it was bad.
The dignity. Oh my God. Years ago, I auditioned for a jockey ad and it was paying like $60,000. I'm like, I'm buying my mom a car. I was already like in it, $60,000. So there I am in this little pair of skivvies. And if I ever release episode 1, you'll see that I love the opportunity to do like, I don't know, I grew up dreaming of being like Calvin Klein underwear model. I don't know, whatever. So I'm all about it. And so there I am in my jockey underwear in front of a couple of people. You get the call back and then you're in front of a lot of people. And they give me a basketball. So I'm in my underwear, dribbling a basketball.
As one does.
And they're asking me these questions. And I'm sure it was all about making, like you feel comfortable. Like, how comfortable are you in front of all of us in your underwear? And which I totally was, right? I grew up with 3, so who cares? But I think the truth is, it's a long day for them, and they want to have some fun too.
Yeah.
So the next thing, they're asking you to do jumping jacks, and they're asking you stupid, meaningless questions like, can you name 7 of the Dirty Dozen? And I'm like, I could probably give you 5 of on a good day. And it's the dignity is a little bit out the window, but you don't care because you're in it and you love it so damn much that you really are willing.
Did you get that one?
I did not. They called me and they said, hey, we would love to have you, but could you be one of the non-featured, right? So the featured dude was going to make the $60,000. Everyone else was going to get a union day rate of like $250. So I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be.
See, this is a perfect example what I tell you to be positive because you got rejected for jockey shorts and I got rejected for Defense.
No, I'm not.
So I'd be happy to be rejected.
Take your misfortune to build my fortune. No, that's why I have you here.
There's always a better way to look at it, right?
No, the reason I have you here, and I couldn't imagine anybody else being like a first guest, is because I know how truthful you are. I know how honest you are. I know how caring you are. I know what just a good human you are, and
you too.
And it's I think a huge part of this,
Right.
And it's exciting, and it's awesome, and I'm so glad you came.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. And
it's a shame to keep our phone conversations to just us, so we can share the little of that.
Now I know where you're at. I can come out once in a while.
Yeah. Anytime you are
this
always
is a great idea.
Always welcome back here. Good. Oh my God, thank you so much for everything. I appreciate it so much.
Sure.
Thank you for tuning into Fameless, a podcast for the rest of us. We hope you can join us next time as we continue to examine the curious human desire for fame, when our next guest is most likely fameless, so you don't know him anyway. Until then, stay fameless. See you in the grocery store. That was a good one. Yeah, my best work. Yeah, right. Good. got it, yeah. Okay. But I need the mug, it's mine. I need 2 of them to make this. Thank you for tuning into Fameless, a podcast for the rest of us. We hope you can join us next time as we continue to... No! Clorox wipes! I need a Clorox wipe! Feet down, sorry.
I got to put my feet down. Right?
Yeah, and
I can't breathe.
Totally. Well, you can put them up after, right?
I'll just keep them down.
Yeah. Is that a mustard stain on your pants?
Where?
You know, better than...
Shoot.
Where's the mustard stain?
I was kidding.